right. So it is good to be back on another episode of TesterSpeak after quite a long gap for reasons best known to me. but today I am here for the finale episode of season 2. And for this finale episode, I wanted to get somebody very, very special. And finally, I have managed to get hold of a person whom I have known for a really long time. And I've been really, really inspired by his journey, by the way he looks at testing, talks about it, and does a lot of inspirational work. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of TesterSpeak Season 2 with your host Brajesh Dev. And the guest today that I have on the show is my good friend Federico Toledo from Uruguay, and he is now in California. Welcome, Federico.
Thank you for having me, Brajesh. It's a pleasure to be here. And again, talking to you, we were remembering last time, like 6 years ago, we did something like this in your YouTube channel, I think. And yes. Now we have a chance to, catch up to see.
Yes, and trust me, Federico, that was my first ever interview. So you were my first ever podcast guest. That was back in 2016. I was raw and I didn't know how to speak, but I don't know how to speak even now. But that was fun. That was a video. I think you were in Montevideo at that time.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the nice office view, with a guitar by your side. We'll come to the guitar later. So to start, tell us a little bit about how you got into testing.
How that happened? Well, first of all, I was studying in the university in Montevideo, in Uruguay. And I was finishing the computer science degree. It was my last year, probably, something like this. I was looking for a job, like a part-time or something. And there was an opportunity to work in the university in a new company that it was like part of the university and also a company, and they were researching about software testing. I didn't know what software testing was back then, but I said, okay, it's only 4 hours a day. It's in the university, so it's very easy to go to class and then to the office and that. So I decided to apply. And I remember the person who then became my boss, my first boss, he told me, are you sure you want this job? Because once you get into a field, right? Once you get into testing, probably you will continue your career in software testing. Because, if after you get some experience and you try to apply to another job, you have more experience in that. So you have more chances to continue working in the same field. And I say, yeah, sure, why not? Because I didn't believe him. But here I am, 17 years after that, and I'm still working in software testing.
Excellent. Now, talking about university and studies and all that. So, in your university, did you have software testing as one of the subjects, or how did it go?
I always make fun of this because it's not only in the university I went, but also in some other places in the world. It happens always the same. Software testing is a subject that typically comes at the end of the degree, and it's optional.
Yes.
So we are instaurating an idea that testing is something that comes at the end and it's optional. Right? And the way I see it is that it should be part of every programming subject, right? Or any subject should have also some sort of testing or at least some discussion about how would you test this once you learn how to build it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, back then it was an optional subject. Now I'm not sure, but I know they are still teaching it.
But you got so inspired by that you chose to do a PhD in software testing. Now, let me tell you this, okay? You are one of the only 3 people that I know who have a PhD in software testing. So you are a real rare species, if I may call it that way. But so how did that happen?
Well, maybe because I was involved in doing the PhD, I had a chance to meet more people doing the same. What I think it happens is that once you are in the academia and researching a specific topic, you continue working with the academia, and there is a disconnection, right, between the academia and the industry. And in my case, I decided to do the PhD because mainly because I wanted to live abroad, you know. So I had a chance to spend 3 years in Spain and 3 months in Italy. It was amazing. I learned a lot. I learned about model-driven testing. I learned about how to research. And it was great, but I knew I preferred to work in the industry and not in the academia. And I'm always trying to connect both worlds in some way, but still I feel that the fundamental research is difficult to see your contribution being applied and contributing and adding value to someone that you can see the impact, right? And in the industry, we have this amazing opportunity to see how you can improve lives of other people by technology or by the work you do, or in different ways, right? So that's why I prefer to come back to the industry, right? And this is what I think it's rare to find someone who did a PhD in software testing and is working in the industry, right?
Thankfully, all the 3 people that I know are working in the industry. So yeah, so that's like I said, a really, really rare species.
Yeah.
So now continuing a little more on that subject of learning and being inquisitive about software testing. Now, what I have observed in the few years that I have known you and I have followed you is that you have a love for what people call as non-functional testing, especially performance. I have seen some of the work that you have done, some of the things that you speak about, whether it is in a conference or in a blog post. So how did that love develop for performance testing? What in performance testing makes you excited?
That's a good question. It's connected to my first job in the industry, right? Because it was as a performance tester. That was my first job. So I started to work with OpenSTA. I don't know if you remember that tool. It was an open source solution in 2005. It was kind of popular because it was like it was lighter in terms of resource consumption than JMeter back then, right?
Yes.
So the problem with that tool is that it was discontinued, and now JMeter is working much better than in those years. But answering your question, I think there was something special with the moment when I started to do performance testing. I was also finishing my studies in the university, and I remember I had a subject related to networks. And the fun part was that while I was studying that, I could apply what I was learning in my job, and also everything that I was researching and learning about how to simulate an interaction between the browser and the server at the protocol level. All that I had to simulate helped me to understand better what I was studying. So that connection, I think it helped me a lot. Again, trying to learn something and apply it and learn from that application, I think that cycle is very, very interesting.
Yes.
And it's something very challenging. It's like you're trying. I'm talking about only the scripting part, right? But when you are scripting, you are trying to cheat the server to make it think that you are a real user accessing and doing some activity, and then you are trying to make the server think that you are 100 users or 1,000, and the server shouldn't recognize that it's a simulation, or if it's a group of real users accessing at the same time, right? So that part of modeling and scripting and preparing all of that, and monitoring and analyzing if you are doing it right or not, that part was very challenging, and I think that was what hooked me to the field, right?
Right. So to take this question a little further, now you have seen testing evolve over the years. You've also seen several performance testing tools come and stay there or go. Now, but the industry outlook towards performance testing in general, in my opinion, hasn't changed much, because people, what I normally say is, testing is an afterthought in a lot of cases until something happens, and performance testing is an afterthought of that afterthought. But only until a customer, only when a customer reports a problem, then you start doing performance testing. Oh, it's working slow for the customer, let's look at it. Before that, it is an activity, most businesses would think, should we do it? Should we not do it? Let's not do it. Right?
The same happens with most of the non-functional
right, security testing, for example. And now because there is so much pressure, people have still started talking about scalability. Otherwise, earlier nobody used to talk about it. Now, because businesses are growing at a very fast rate, you have stiff competition. That is happening. But earlier, nobody spoke about it. So, what is your take? I mean, what do you think is missing, or how can we fix that?
How can we fix the fact that everyone is thinking about performance after having some issues or something like this? Well, it's kind of it's related to education, right, or experience. In most of the cases, when we provide different services in Abstracta so we have the chance to work with different companies, different type of industries and everything, and different sizes. So we can see when the customer already has in their conscious the idea of, okay, we should do performance testing. Probably there is one person who already experienced some issue in the past. Mm-hmm. So that was the way to learn about it. So we have to insist. We have been insisting with this idea of doing testing, shift left, shift right, the different type of testing that we should be doing. But we still need to continue with this education or with showing the value that the testing can contribute to the business, not only to the testers, because if we only speak with each other, we easily agree that we should be doing performance testing at the beginning or whatever. But we also have to find a way to persuade or to convince or to show value to the ones making decisions.
Right.
To the directors, to the managers, to the product owners. And in many cases, it's connected to, it's easier if you connect the benefit with money, mm-hmm. with mitigation of risks, mm-hmm. with user satisfaction, user experience, right? So, because in many cases, I think we as testers fail in doing that.
Yeah.
We typically say, this is what we should do. But in some cases, it's not what we should do, because maybe it doesn't make sense for the business or for the particular moment of the project or something like this. So we have to work together with those who can help us to have like the big picture of the project and try to analyze and discuss and brainstorm which practices will help us to mitigate the risks related to performance, security, accessibility, or whatever, right?
Right. I know some very interesting points there. And the first thing that I want to talk about is education. Okay, educating the people who are taking those decisions. Okay, especially the business decisions that are being taken. Yes, you're absolutely right. Within the testing community, there is a lot of conversation that happens, and we say, okay, this is important. Like the two of us are talking now. But how are we doing in terms of educating the stakeholders, the people who matter, to show them, again, you mentioned something very important, to show them the value of the work that we do. That is, how it translates into money and what risks are being mitigated. Okay, and I also think that it is very important. Now, so my question to you is, in this fast-paced setup, people are talking about DevOps and faster delivery, faster time to market and all that. How do you convince the customer that, what, if you don't do performance testing now, it is going to come and bite you back later? Okay, or any kind of non-functional testing, if you skip it, then it is going to come back and bite you later. How do you convince?
Well, there is a word that you're saying that for me it's key. You're talking about convincing, but the thing is, and this is something that I learned I remember with a particular leader of one of our customers I was working with. It's not about convincing; it's about learning first.
Yes, absolutely.
Because convincing is like, okay, performance testing must be done in every project, no matter the context or whatever. And maybe there are some cases that you have to understand what they are doing, and then decide or discuss what's the best approach.
Right.
And I can tell you a little bit more about this particular case. I remember I was working in test automation for a particular customer, doing some scripting with Selenium and Ruby, and right? So there was a moment when I asked, shouldn't we also prepare some performance tests for the system, because you don't have anything in place?
Right.
And she told me, well, I don't think we need to do performance testing. And this is why we are releasing a new version every day. So the changes that goes to production between one day and the other, it's like a few lines of code, let's say, right? And I have everything tracked in my repo and with the tools they have. And they were also monitoring a lot. They have the APMs and different tools, so they could see the impact of every release, of every new deploy. So if there is one day when they notice that the memory started to behave, out of normal, so they knew which lines of code could be responsible for that, and they could work on improving and analyzing this part without the need of any simulation, a different environment or whatever, right? But by that moment, that was my only approach for addressing performance or mitigating performance problems, right? So answering your question for me is not about convincing. First, it's about understanding. Right. After you understand, you should also understand the risks and then talk about the risks. And then that you convince the person that according to what you learn, how they are working, there are some risks related to performance, then that person is going to ask you, okay, what can we do about it? And then you answer performance testing, for example.
Absolutely. I love that answer. Fantastic. Now, I want to talk to you about about something which is very close to your heart and which is connected with performance testing. And that is something that you mentioned in one of your previous answers, Abstracta. Okay, so how did Abstracta happen? And when did it happen? When did you decide? What is the story?
Well, we started to work in, let's say, 2007 in the automation of a particular system that was developed with a low-code solution for development, right? Mm-hmm. So the developers were working at this level of abstraction. Mm-hmm. And that tool, you could prepare the application. You can define the application with a specific model, with a specific language, with a high level of abstraction. And the tool, the development tool, help you to generate the code in Java, in .NET, or in different platforms according to what you needed. So we were automating tests at this level with the traditional tools. So every time we found a bug or an improvement to make or something, the developers updated here and regenerated all the code. So our scripts broke. Yeah. Right? So useless. So many time wasted in rework. So we decided that we wanted to try to research in a new way of doing this. So we came up with a prototype of a tool that worked at the same level, understood how the code was generated in order to do some reverse engineering of that HTML, because we were talking about a web system. And we started to talk with the company in charge of this low-code platform and came to an agreement, got some funding, and this is how we started as a company focused on developing a software testing product. The thing is, so we formalized the company in 2008. The thing was that we started to work with different customers, and they realized that they didn't need only the tool. They also need someone to help them to solve the issue, to automate or to prepare a performance test or something like that. And we knew how to do it. So we started to provide them help, not only the tool. So that's how now Abstracta is a company fully dedicated to providing software testing services, especially functional testing, test automation, and performance testing. Mm-hmm. We also invest a lot in research and development, especially in these three areas. We still have that product that originated the company, but again, our focus is mainly on the services now.
Nice. And so you started this in Uruguay and then moved it to the US.
Well, we started in Uruguay, but the product started to be commercialized all around the world the next year. And when we started with the services, at the beginning, we started focusing on the region in Uruguay and Latin America. But then we decided to try also with with bigger companies, with startups, so we started to travel a lot to mainly San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. One of my partners, Sofia Palomarchuk, she moved to the area first back in 2015, I think. So that's when we started to put more focus on offering the services here and have a distributed team. Now we are distributed in the US, Canada, Uruguay, and Chile also. Mm-hmm. And I would say that most of our customers, around 60% of the customers, are here in the States nowadays.
So that brings me to a question which I have had for a long time. Now, talking about the scene of testing, if I may call it, or the proliferation of testing in South America. Okay, we know a lot about testing happening in the US, or testers from the US or Europe, or say from Southeast Asia like India, Pakistan, or the countries, maybe Malaysia, Singapore as well, and even from Australia. But not a lot is known about testers from South America. So I of course know you. I've heard about Sofia. I know about other testers from Uruguay, from Brazil, from Argentina. Claudia Badel, Ileana Herrera. She's now moved to Canada, of course, but for me, she's still from Argentina. Okay, so yeah, so by heart, I'm pretty sure she is still an Argentine, not a Canadian yet. So some really good testers. So how is it? I mean, what is it that you guys are doing to proliferate testing in the region and to make the testing in South America more visible?
Well, this is a question I'm asking myself and my partners and colleagues every year since we started. Because I remember in 2005, when I started in software testing, we were the first people to speak about software testing in the region. There was no one talking about it.
Right.
And now, well, we try to do different talks and conferences. There is one in particular that we started in 2014 with four or five different companies working in software testing. And we co-created testing UI, TestingUy.
Yeah.
And that became the largest testing conference in Latin America.
Correct. Yes.
In one of the smallest countries.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, we've been able to provide a conference that it's free for attendance. We were having like a lot of support from different sponsors, mainly in order to try to help to cover different expenses. We were not able to cover the whole trip for people coming from different places, but we were trying to do our best in mainly to provide free access to everyone, and also through streaming for those in other countries in Latin America or Spain. Because there is a lot of content in English, but there is not that much in Spanish.
Yes.
So for those that are not able to read or write or understand English, we also wanted to make a difference for them. Right. So we were even translating or adding subtitles, captions to the videos and these type of things in order to provide quality content for those who prefer to study in Spanish in their native language, right? And now I can say that the community, I've seen it, how the community were really grew a lot. And not only that, there were new testing communities appearing in all the different countries. And there is something really beautiful about Latin America. We typically get to help each other a lot.
Yes.
So we even have a WhatsApp group within the different organizers of the testing conference of the whole Latin America, right? So there are conversations where we ask, hey, I'm planning to organize a conference in these dates. You are okay with that? Because I don't want to generate any conflict with any other, right? So there is this kind of camaraderie. Yeah. So I find this fascinating, and we still have a lot of work to do, right? But I think we are in the right direction, trying to provide conferences that are free for attendance, mainly thinking of those people who are starting in software testing, that they are not in the industry or they are not having high salaries yet, so they cannot afford to pay like $1,000 for a conference, as it's typically the situation here in the States, for example, right? So yeah.
No, so I think that is very nice. TestingUy has organized some very good programs already. I have been a part of many of them, despite very difficult situations due to the time zones. But I have attended a few of the meetups that they do, or the special webinar sessions that are done. And it's enjoyable to see the perspective coming out of that region. Okay, like you said that from one of the smallest countries. Well, I don't think it is small anymore, because you guys have put them on the map big time. Okay, Abstracta has been doing such a great work. People know about it, people talk about it, and so does TestingUy. I mean, I think there is a lot of good content. There are a lot of brilliant testers, okay, coming out of that region, and I don't see a reason for it to not grow further. Now, the only thing is that the world needs to know that, what, there are some very good testers there as well. Okay, and if you're looking for somebody to help you test, for example, performance testing being a specialist thing, why not talk to the guys at Abstractor? They can help us, right? It's very simple, and now with the entire world connected through internet, it's definitely possible. I don't think, sitting here in Europe, I would need only a European company to come and help me. Okay, or if I am, say, in India, I would need only an Indian company to come and help me. The nature of businesses is more and more global, and that's where I definitely feel that this should be leveraged, and people should know that all over the world, there are brilliant testers. It's only a matter of time you recognize them and you talk to them. And that is where I think you guys are doing a brilliant job. Okay, I am so inspired, Federico, by your story, because I remember you spoke about OpenSDA, and you spoke about being the first guys to talk about software testing. I remember when I did that interview in 2016, you told me the same thing, and I was like, wow, how cool is that somebody became one of the first people to talk about it, started their journey in the testing services business, and and are doing so well for the community, right? So congratulations on that, and this is really inspirational, and I think people should listen to more of your story, should understand the philosophy behind it, and how you have been doing so much work. So now I want to draw your attention to one term that you used in one of your previous answers, and that is low code. Okay. So you mentioned a low code development tool, but lately you have been doing a lot of research on low code testing tools. And how many tools have you identified so far? 56, 57?
More than 60 now.
Oh, you've crossed 60. Good.
We did the research in February, and after that I attended a couple of conferences, and I learned about even more tools that I didn't know before. Yeah.
Good. Because I think we are running neck to neck. So I am also doing my own research, and I have identified 65 tools so far. So yeah, we're quite close. If you just cross 60, or maybe you know more than me now. So
we have to share our results.
Yes, we need to. So 2 questions on that. Number one, the number of tools is growing, right? But not many businesses have been able to leverage them, or there is the rate of adoption of those tools, or awareness around those tools, is still low. Number one, how do we address that? And number two, how do we show the value of these low-code tools when the likes of Selenium are still calling the shots?
Maybe the first thing is that not every tool is for everyone. It's like you have to understand which one is better for you, for your context, and mainly for your team, for your business model and everything. Because if you, let's say, we don't have any limitation in resources, money, time, whatever, maybe the best option is to go with coded solutions like Selenium or WebDriver.io, Cypress, something like this. Because you have the most flexibility, you can connect easily with whatever you want, you can program whatever, right? But there are some limitations, mainly in time, mainly in the maintenance that you need to do to all the test cases that you prepare in order to be able to provide value in results. In okay, I modified that because I need to deploy this change by today, and I need to see if I didn't break anything else. That right. Yeah. So I need to be able to invest more time in the adding value than in correcting or adjusting the test cases, right? So this is one important thing. Then there is another limitation that, well, now with the recession and and all that's happening, maybe it's changing a little bit, but there's a lack of people with skills and time for everything that we need to do. So when you don't have, when it's hard to get the people that you need with the skills that you need, maybe the tools can help you by lowering the requirements, those restrictions. And I think this is the main part of this approach also, because you are allowing other people without coding skills to also contribute to this initiative of test automation. But there is a problem that we should not forget, that this is an engineering process, and it requires engineering practices, and you have to pay attention to the maintainability, the quality of your test cases, I don't know, different things related to how to modularize your test cases in order to make them easier to understand, to read, to maintain again.
So modularity, reusability, those aspects.
Yeah. So for me, when we started to research about the different options for low-code test automation, we realized that some tools offer you great features like that for any test automation engineers are basic, like the possibility to have a repo, a centralized repo with different having track of the different versions, having the possibility to branch and experiment and then merge in the main branch. And not all the tools offer this possibility. So for me, if the tool is not offering branching and a repository with the possibility to go to a previous version of things like this, okay, maybe that tool is not yet ready to be used in most of the teams. Then in most of the contexts, you need to integrate with different other tools. If you want to run in different browsers, in different operating systems, or things like this, if that feature is not offered out of the box, maybe you want to integrate with something like Browser Stack or Sauce Labs or any other platform. There are many, right? So again, the thing is, we have to understand what we are looking for, the resources and the people we have with the skills they have, and try to find the best solution to take all of this into consideration. So for me, there is no better approach. It's not that low code is better than coded test automation tools. Is it better for you? or now or not, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Context is extremely important, number one. Number two is what or where are you in terms of your journey in test automation. Number three is, trying to get the skill level of the team up. Okay, because like you said, there is definitely a shortage of skilled testers in the industry. And if you're looking at automation, I mean, there is too much focus on one side, whereas the other side is kind of not having much talented people. So to bridge that gap, you might put in a tool and say, hey, you know what? You don't need much of testing skills. You can get started, and at least it will help you in starting your testing journey. I think that's very important. So I think that was really nice. Now we've had quite some serious discussion. I want to move towards a fun segment, what I call as rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You have less than 5 seconds to answer those questions. And if it is a multiple choice question, you will tell me the reason why you chose one. Okay. First one is very, very easy. It's very, very easy. So you come from Uruguay and you live in the States right now. So is it football or is it NFL?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Is it football or is it NFL?
Football or NFL? What do you mean?
I mean, do you like the, in Uruguay they call it football or they call it soccer?
Yeah. Sorry, I got used to
Football.
football and soccer, right?
Okay. So football or soccer.
But you are right. It's football, of course. Football, always football.
Yes. So I'm in Europe. They call it football here. So.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, I cannot compare. I mean, I went to see a couple of matches of American football, baseball also, that I didn't understand before going to the match, with a friend who was explaining me what was happening all the time. And I really enjoyed the show, right? The match. But I still prefer football, maybe because I grew up playing it myself since I was a kid, right?
Yeah. Well, I can imagine that, because Uruguay, of course, the world knows, were the first ever world champions. The first ever football World Cup was won by Uruguay. So why not? You don't need a reason to celebrate that. You can, of course. All right. So the second
I'm
one.
looking forward to what's going to happen in Qatar this year, right?
Interesting to see what happens there. Well, I have my guesses, but let's see. because on that stage, some teams do perform surprisingly better than others, and sometimes you don't expect a team to come up so far and they just do it. So World Cup is a different proposition altogether. Well, okay. So my next question to you is, okay, now COVID restrictions almost gone. People are flying out, people are traveling everywhere. So what is the big destination that you are looking at to fly next?
Uruguay. Yeah, I think I mentioned this to you. I recently published something in social media, but I'm moving back to my country, to my home, at the end of August, and I'm really looking forward to this because it's been 3 amazing years here in California. I love California. I love the nature. I met many amazing people here. Being surrounded by things related to technology, even in the street. If you go to the metro station, the advertising are about technology. So you feel the technology in everywhere. Mm-hmm. And this for us that we work in technology, I think it's fascinating. But still, I'm looking forward to spend more time with friends, with family, and yeah.
And of course, your extended family in terms of Abstracta.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, this is something that I really miss, to go to the office and spend time with my colleagues and friends from the company. Yeah, yeah.
I have seen the pictures of your office, people sitting outside and chilling out, and there's lots of happy faces. Last time you visited, you posted some pictures on Twitter, and that's when I saw, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And obviously they looked really happy to see you around. So obviously, when you are there for a longer term, they will definitely be happy.
Yeah, we have an amazing team. I'm really happy about it. It's like I feel like most of them. Something weird that happens is that when someone new comes to the team, I feel that I already know the person for years. It's like we share a lot of things in common. We share the same passion. We share the same culture. We value each other and respect each other a lot, and I really appreciate how it feels in the company. So that's why also, as you mentioned, I'm looking forward to going to the office again.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see you back in the office, having the guitar right next to you, so that you can pick it up, so that you can pick it up and play. I remember our last conversation in 2016. You had it right next to you.
Yeah.
So are you still playing the guitar? Are you still in touch, practicing?
From time to time, but just a little. I never got good at it. Yeah.
No,
Just for fun.
we'll have a different session where you will be, I'll ask you to play the guitar. Well, I noticed that you're drinking something. What is it? It seems interesting. Yeah, what is that?
This is a mate. It's a traditional. It's kind of a tea. It's an infusion. I can show you a little bit more here. Maybe can you see there?
Yeah. I see. Okay.
So here we have these leaves are Sherwa Mate is the name. So here I pour hot water that I have in my terms here. Here you can see a couple of logos.
Yeah, TestingUy, yeah, of course. The Ministry of Testing, of course. Great guys,
And
good bunch of people, yeah.
And basically, you drink the hot water through this straw, right? But the beautiful thing about this is that it's not only that you drink it because it has caffeine and it helps you,
Stay awake.
be awake. Yeah, I guess. But it's something that is very vivid in our culture. If you go to when you go to Uruguay, you will see people in the street walking with the mate in their hands and drinking and sharing it, because it's something that you typically share. It's not very COVID friendly, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very common to see people.
Well, talking about traveling to Uruguay, I read your tweet about an international conference happening soon. So I definitely consider myself as one of the folks who would want to visit the conference. So maybe possibly someday speak in that conference, but really excited, and we'll wait for more information to come from your side. So
probably next week we will have more information available.
Great. So look forward to that. Now, I know you are a bit tight on time, but I want to not let you go so soon, but I want to ask you one very important question. So if Federico was not a tester, if you were not into software testing, what else would you be doing?
That's a very interesting question. When I started to study, when I decided to do engineering, computer science, I decided to do that just because it had maths, and I was good at that, and I liked that. So I decided to study that. But I didn't have any idea of what computer science what was programming or coding or anything, right? So now I really like it. But back then I was thinking of economy and also chemistry. So maybe those could be some options that I could have taken. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a carpenter. Maybe any of these could be
interesting choice of topics. First, carpentry. I know some people in the tech world who are very good with their woodwork. Like, for example, I had a manager who used to build small wooden pieces by himself. He used to craft small miniatures and then the bigger ones also. So I know people in tech having a passion for carpentry. But the three subjects that you mentioned, mathematics, economics, and chemistry, three different directions. Wow.
Yeah, you know what happens with the woodwork? I think when you work in technology, we work with very abstract things. We cannot touch the code. We cannot touch a system. So I typically do some stuff at my garden or some other things that I feel that it's a more exhausting work, but it's something that you can connect, you can touch, you can feel in your hands, right? So I think combining something more palpable like this is very important for even for exercising or doing something different than those things that we do every day, right? Yeah.
Well, this conversation is so interesting. I don't want it to end. So, we also have an AMA series, and I'm pretty sure that more and more people will have a lot of questions around the topics that you've spoken about. And so we will definitely work on planning a live, because this is a recorded one. So we will do a live AMA with you. And so once you move to Uruguay, end of summer in the Northern Hemisphere and almost the end of winter in the Southern Hemisphere. So good timing. I really like that you've chosen the August-September timeframe. So you move from summer to summer, basically. So intelligent thinking. I was just thinking, why the end of summer? Why not summer? Then I realized when it's summer here, it's winter there. So the timing is really nice. So yeah. So when you do that, when you transition, maybe then we will have that for the audience. I'm sure there'll be interesting questions that they will have, and they will want to know more about the stuff that you just mentioned here. And thank you for doing so much for the testing community, for bringing the Latin American testers on the map. You put them on the map. I think it's incredible. Like I said, there are some wonderful testers that I know. There's some great work happening there, and you've been an inspiration for me for many years now. And I'm sure others, when they know about your story, they know about the work that you do, they're going to be inspired as well. Like always, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure. Whether it is just a chat or a conversation like this, it's always fun talking to you.
It was fun. It was great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate everything you do, because having these spaces, sharing conversations, trying to get to know each other through different conversations with the community, I think it's a key part of what we are building here. So thank you also for having for working that hard to have these YouTube channels and the conversations and the very thought-provocative and inspiring posts that you typically share. Continue with that, please.
Thank you. This is the total the 70th episode of TesterSpeak that I'm recording. So 70 episodes, 70 different testers has been incredible, and each tester has had their unique journey and has had something unique to share so far. So I am learning a lot. So there is a bit of selfish interest also, that I get an opportunity to learn from everybody. But then I think people are doing such an amazing job. If I can help share their journey, then why not? So that's the only.
You know what? In this idea of trying to promote more the different testers from Latin America that there are, maybe I would suggest you a couple of names for following episodes.
Definitely. I look forward to that. And I am also now thinking about focusing a little more on testers from Africa, because there's a lot of good testers coming from that region as well. Okay, so talk about testing in South Africa or Nigeria. There are some wonderful testers there. Plus, somewhere I think I know a couple of Egyptian testers as well, and well, Egypt is in Africa. So, a lot of people get that, Egypt you're talking about, but yeah, Egypt is in Africa, so African testers. But yeah, I want to do that. And then focus my my attention towards New Zealand, because, I've touched Australia, but New Zealand testers, I haven't. Aaron Hodder, okay, of course, one of the most popular names from New Zealand, brilliant guy.
You know what? I have a friend who is an Argentinian who moved to New Zealand. Maybe you heard of him, Patricio Miner. If you don't know him, I can connect.
Definitely would love to get connected. Okay, and then earlier, I learned so much from Katerina Kloki. Of course, she is not doing testing anymore, but she's written a wonderful book, testing in the DevOps world. I think it's very handy. I've met her in person. She was in Bangalore for one of the conferences back in 2015. That's when I met her. And she's so impressive. I was there in one of the workshops that she did. So again, I will try to get hold of her, even though she's not active in the testing scene, but I think her contributions to the testing world has been enormous, and people need to know more about it. So anyways, I will keep on doing what I can possibly do. But thank you so much. And it was indeed such a pleasure to talk to you face to face after 6 years. And hopefully soon we will meet in person. Okay, which part of the world, I don't know. If it is Uruguay, I would love to be there. If it is anywhere else, well, it'll be awesome. And if in Uruguay, I would like to share that drink as well. See what it does to. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Federico.
Bye.
Bye.